Good Monday morning, Market Chameleons, and everyone join us for the first time. Thanks for coming to the Market Chameleon pre-market show, where everything Market Chameleon is discussed and open for Q&A. How are you doing, D?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Morning. Do you want to start with the disclaimer? It's up there for everyone to see.
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I, Market Chameleon, we're not registered investment advisors. We're not a broker dealer. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need professional advice, call your broker or call your registered investment advisor. That's what they're there for, to give you advice, provide you with guidance. There's the disclaimer.
All right.
And with that, let me share my screen. And today I'm going to continue talking about our new feature option order flow sentiment, kind of maybe cover some questions I've been getting last week and over the weekend. This is a new feature, and we started talking about it early last week when we released it. You guys could go back. Actually, we keep the videos over here under videos. You could go back and we have an archive. But I'm going to continue talking about it today. Sorry, Will, I did not plug in my microphone. Let me do that.
No worries. It's picking up all right.
But how does it sound now?
It's fine.
Okay. So what we'll do today, we'll go over the pre-market report as usual. I'm going to look at the option order flow sentiment report, where you guys could kind of go in there and see some things that are just being highlighted going on. So you could go to an individual symbol and look at the option order flow sentiment on that individual symbol, or you could go to a report and kind of see a list of symbols and highlight it for certain reasons. We'll go over that today. If you guys have any questions, put them in the live chat. Will's monitoring them. He'll read it back to me. If you want to come on live, we also put a link there that will take you over to Zoom. You click on that link, you go to Zoom, click on raise your hand. You don't have to turn on your video camera, but you'll go on live and you could ask questions directly, maybe navigate us to where anything you're looking at. So those are two ways to ask questions. So let's get started with the pre-market. We'll see what's going on, what's trading in pre-market hours, and then we'll move on to the option order flow sentiment. So right now, I'm on a pre-market report over here, and these are stocks trading in the pre-market hours. We have the most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. Coming down here, I see 93 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 28 on the decliners list. So right now, from that perspective, we're looking more bullish bias at the open. Just the one that's making headline news right now is Twitter. I think Elon Musk took a big stake in it, something like 9%. So that's up 20% right now in a pre-market. I think it was even higher than that earlier. Let me just take a look real quick. If you click on that symbol, by the way, on this report, you click on a symbol and then it pops open more analysis and statistics on that symbol and what's going on in pre-market hours. So here I see Twitter closed at 39.31, trading 47.30 in a pre-market. That's up 20% right now. This is how it's trading in a pre-market hour. So I guess the news came out like right around here, went up. It's been trading, up 20% so far. These are down here minute by minute VWAPs. And you could guys, think the news is down here. So you could read the headline news, click on it, read further. But I'm going to close this. Let's filter this list by S&P 500. So to do that, we will take out small cap stocks, take out, other ETFs that are making the list, ultras, all that. We're going to take it out and just look at S&P 500 stocks. So using these filters above in ETF, I'm going to drop it down, select SPY. That's the S&P 500 ETF. Now we have it filtered down by SPY holdings. Here, 7 stocks made the percentage gainers list, 2 on the decliners list. So not a big list, a little bit more bullish bias at the open. We talked about Twitter. Looks like some of the energy stocks are up in the morning. Starbucks is down. I don't know. I think they have Starbucks, Amazon. I heard the workers going to be unionizing. Is that, or they approved like a?
They
Did you hear
did.
about that? Yeah. So maybe some reaction to that. Not sure. But there's some news there. I just noticed. Didn't read a lot about it, but I think Starbucks as well. There are no questions here. I'm just going to move on to the option order flow sentiment.
Well, I have a question about Twitter. Do you think Elon Musk's involvement is going to make Twitter a better stock, or is it just so undervalued for being in the tech space and where it is in social media that it just makes his ownership?
Yeah, I think he took a pretty significant ownership stake in it.
Almost 10%.
Yes, that's a pretty big stake in a stock, I would think. Maybe it gives you, if you have that big of a stake, I think you could start having some input at that point into the company. But I'm not sure what his full intention is with Twitter. He started making comments, I think maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, about social media. I don't know, making it. I'd have to go back and read it. I think he just tweeted out actually just a couple comments, and then making social media, I don't know, more open or better. And I think the reaction to his comments were buy Twitter or start your own. And maybe,
Well,
Twitter,
he personally, and for his businesses, Twitter has been a very valuable tool, right? He sees the value of it.
he uses it, a lot. So, yeah, you're right. It's been a valuable tool for him.
He is the biggest shareholder by a lot. After him, it's like Susquehanna is a large shareholder. A couple of the Musk family members own small amounts, but he is literally the biggest shareholder of Tesla.
Of Tesla, right?
Yeah,
but
excuse me, of Twitter.
Of Twitter, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So, that would be interesting. What happens next? And what he does, but we only have small information, right, on it so far. But he did make some comments, making social media better, like more open, I guess, for forming it, and it's important to him too, right? It's been very valuable, so he definitely sees, I think, the value in social media. Let's just move on right now to the option order flow sentiment. Will, unless you have any comments.
Nope.
Yep.
You can move on.
Okay. What is this DWA? Just, I'm seeing this down 13%. Is that the Donald Trump's social media website?
It could be, yeah.
So maybe that's down 13%. I think that's the one. What's it called? Truth Social. And I don't think, did they launch already?
And again, they're making an attempt at it, right? They don't really have any product. It's all dream capital right now.
Yeah, and Twitter already has a massive following, not like Facebook, but it has, I think, around the world, it's already a known brand. People are using it. People have a lot of, already established followers. So it would be hard, for Donald Trump's, I think, to catch up to that. Maybe that's why when Elon Musk was taking a look at it, what's better, start fresh or just buy, an existing one. But there have been competitors also. TikTok, right? TikTok is a competitor. What other ones? Snap. There are other competitors. Yeah. So there are other ones that have been successful. Let's move on to option order flow sentiment. So this is a report we were looking at last week. We're looking at individual stocks. So we kind of went to an individual stock and, covered here. I'll go SPY. If you go to an individual stock, we have a very detailed report about the option order flow sentiment. We talked about, how it progressed throughout the day, the breakdown of, calls buying or selling, puts buying or selling, the top options. So we did this last week, and now we're going to move on to a centralized report to highlight some of the option order flow sentiment. So up here, this is from right now, we're not open. This is from Friday's close, and up top we just put the top 3 ETFs that track the major indexes, right? So SPI, S&P 500, IWM, Russell 2000, QQQ, NASDAQ 100. So we could kind of see what they were doing as of Friday's close. And then down here, we listed a couple of reports. So you could click through it. All right, we'll go through them and see, option order flow sentiment, organized by these reports. So the top 10, what we did was we scanned the markets and we took what are the top 10 bullish symbols by deltas, okay, and top 10 bearish by deltas. So that's all that we just took the deltas, and we could see here which stocks had the biggest bullish sentiment by deltas. So ERIC 1 million on balance more bullish than bearish. So 1 million more bullish. Apple had more bearish by our interpretation, right? We talked about it. Apple more bearish on balance by 4 million. And this is the top 10 list. Then we could go down a little bit further and say, well, what are the sector ETFs doing? So these are looking at all the sector S&P 500 ETFs, and on balance, what is going on there? Bullish, bearish, which ones are the biggest? So this kind of lists by the biggest deltas from top to bottom and what they are. So the financials had the biggest deltas on net, bearish 3.3 million. Okay.
Hey, D, can you just go back and show Robert how you got to this report?
Yeah. So under the options up top here, order flow sentiment, it's the overview. It's this top one.
Perfect.
Yeah. And it replaced our previous one. So, again, down here, we just started out with a couple reports. This is a new feature. So we just kind of decided, well, let's start out featuring some of it in the central, these were our original lists that we created. We'll see how moving forward, but pretty new feature. It's only been external out to you guys for about less than a week. Do you remember what last?
It's just about a week that it was revealed, and
yeah, something like that. Yep. So that's the sectors really quickly. If there's anything going on in a particular sector ETF, come down here. Then we created a couple other reports here. So one is buying the dip, and this is what we wanted to do is say, all right, let's take a look at stocks that are down on the day, but the order flow sentiment is more bullish, right? So on balance, bullish. In other words, the stock dip, but the order flow is bullish. So from the options traders' perspective, we're interpreting that they're getting long deltas. So we just called this report buying the dip. So you could see here we put in, Sophie down 1%, but on balance, we looked at the order flow is more bullish than bearish, HPQ. So right next to it, it's showing the percentage move in the stock. Okay, so we could see percentage move, they're down. And if you hover over it, that's on balance, how much net delta on balance. So green is positive, so positive 429,000 deltas. All right. And we just listed the top 10. Okay, so you can see the top 10. And if you click on it, it'll take you to that symbol. Right. So if you click on it, it takes you to the symbol, and then you kind of can, so this is Sophie Technologies, $9.33 was down 1.3%. And once you go to the symbol, you could kind of see how the order flow sentiment progressed throughout the day. Here's on balance, net bullish 2 million deltas, bearish 1.5, approximately. That's how much on balance, more bullish than bearish. You could see how, it was climbing throughout the day. You can see the top options and the breakdown that way. So I'm going to close this. We talked about this report. And if you click on this, explain this report to me, they'll do a walkthrough, right? Like this. So this is something new we haven't done before. We got comments. Some people really liked it. Some people, they were initially annoyed because it kept popping up. So I think we fixed that it doesn't pop up every time you switch a page. But this will kind of highlight the section and tell you about each of these features. Okay. So we'll see people like using it. We'll do that on other sections or other parts of our website. Let me go back here. So I'm back on the buying the dip. So the next one, the report is selling the rip. So we called that, selling the rip, and what it's really doing is looking for stocks that are up on the day, but the order flow is negative. In other words, it could be up on a day, but people are, net selling calls or buying puts or somehow taking profits, protecting profits, hedging, whatever it is. But what we interpret is on the day, on net, it's more bullish than bearish. So over here, top one, Facebook, it was up 1%, but on balance, we saw more bearish than bullish delta, on net 1.3 million deltas. Okay, so kind of the opposite of buying the dip, selling the rip. What about, so if there are no questions, I'm going to just keep moving and just cover everything on here. So the next one is buying the rip, right? And it's always hard to name these things, so giving these things names we're never good at, but this is better than the original names that I gave, because I think the original names that you guys didn't see all the processes we've been going through internal before we publish, but the original names you guys probably wouldn't have even gotten it from the name. But buying the rip, this is a list of stocks. The shares are up on a day, and the order flow sentiment is bullish. Okay, so they're both going in the same direction towards the upside. All right, so look up top here, ERIC, Friday stock was up 4%, and the order flow was net bullish 1 million. So if we click on it, kind of, let's just take a look what that looks like. So you could see here on Friday, it was up 37 cents, up 4%. Coming down here on balance, the order flow is also bullish. So and you could see here, a bulk of it happened like right around here. It was kind of flat, and then boom, right here, whatever, around 1201, big bullish flow, kind of remained, maybe added a little bit to it towards the end of the day, and stayed about the same after that. So not much going on after 1 o'clock, but that's what our interpretation was in ERIC. If I come down here, it looks like the April 10th call. April 14th, 10 strike call. That was almost like half that delta, 562,000. So it looks like some buying of calls. That's my interpretation there. July 15th, 10 call, buying of calls. October 10th, buying of calls. Okay, so that's how we see an ERIC on Friday. So this is, we call this buying the RIP report.
Hey,
you guys have, yeah.
Andy's asking, and I'm assuming by presentations he means the data. He asks, all these presentations update every 15 minutes during the trade. I'm assuming during the trading day. Is that correct?
Yeah. So down here, here, let me take a look at SPY. So SPY, here's the chart, right? And you could see that we're on a 15-minute delayed data. So remember, all our data, it's on a 15-minute delay, and then it goes into our database, and we have to recalculate the analytics, statistics, there's a huge process in the background. So that takes a little bit of time. All the processes are different depending on the report, and then it's updating throughout the day. So I think here, like this one is like a minute by minute chart, I believe. Okay, so it's not updating, every minute, because maybe the process could take like 5 minutes, but it'll show you a minute by minute, chart. But this will be updating throughout the day. So, after the market's open, we start getting data around 9:45. 15 minutes later, we start processing, and around 9:50, you'll start seeing data coming in. And throughout the day, this chart, as you check back, every 5 minutes or so, it's gonna be updated. So all the, this entire report. Okay.
Perfect.
Yep.
Rob was asking something about the report. He was asking, is there a correlation to subsequent stock moves and the positive or negative delta sentiment? If so, how far out? And then he was asking, can we see a longer time period, like a week or a month? He was also asking, is that possible?
So if you go down here in SPY, if you go down all the way down, this is the historical end of day, right? So this is the historical, I think like 30 days, something like that. So you could see day and end of day by day. If you go down to the table below, we show end of day, what the imbalance was end of day, and what was the low and high of the day, minute by minute. So what was the most bearish it got and the most bullish it got on that day. Okay, so that's how this report is. And a couple of things, with the report is the following: that it's not, none of our reports, nothing here is meant to be something that is, if you don't take action immediately, then you're out. That's not how these reports work, right? It's compiling information and data so you could get an assessment of what's going on. It's not something that like, we're not asking anybody to be a high frequency, high speed trader. This is something we vehemently are against, because there's no way you guys are going to compete against a high frequency, high speed trader. So, and if you guys are looking to beat that, then you're in the wrong place. Okay, you could go New York Stock Exchange, get a super feed, and try to do this. But that's not the point. We're looking at the accumulation of data and how it's progressing to get an assessment. What do we think is going on in the market? And no, not one of these, and we're providing tools to help, get an assessment of what we think is going on, and how this plays into your overall strategy, into the overall into your overall assessment of the information. Okay, so it's not a prediction model, right? We're not saying it's a prediction model and it's going to tell you exactly what's going to happen in the future, because nobody knows exactly what's going to happen in the future. There's no way of knowing, because information and is changing continuously, and so are the order flow and people's assessment of the information. What it's trying to do is give you, what do you think is more likely by collecting information? What do you think is more likely to happen than not? Okay, that's kind of the idea behind it. But it's, it's not like don't think of it as I have to sit there and click a button as fast as I can, because that's not what it is. And it's not a prediction model in the sense it's more of like it's showing you how the order flow is progressing, what are other people, kind of thinking, or doing out there, and how does that play into your overall strategy. Okay, so when you see pressure building up, the price reaction, what do you think is more likely going to happen based on all the other information that you're assessing? Is that
very helpful? Thanks, D.
Okay. So this would be, I'm going to come back to the report, and this is, buying the rip. Again, stocks that are up in the order flow, sentiment, pressure, all going in the same direction. Selling the dip, the next one, that's kind of the opposite of buying the rip, and that's where the price is down, and at the same time, the order flow is negative, so negative delta. So this is going in the same direction, but towards the bearish side. Okay, so we call that selling the dip. We added this one because we had a lot of requests, and they were saying in my watch list. So we just took this, scans your watch list, and out of your watch list, it lists the top 10 bullish, top 10 bearish in your watch list. Okay, so this way you could get a quick view out of all your feature. Yeah, top bullish and bearish. We've been getting more requests for enhancing this feature, so take a look at it. And then down here, this is a table of all the order flow sentiments, and we have the net sentiment here. So right now it's in alphabetical order. The net order flow sentiment, bullish or bearish, by how much, and a breakdown by where it's coming from. So, how much is coming from net deltas in the calls, net deltas in the puts, net deltas in vertical calls, net deltas in vertical puts. So you could sort this and say, well, show me where there's a lot of deltas in the vertical calls. So we could see in SPY from call spreads on balance positive 324,000. To see in SPY where the deltas are coming from. So we're seeing short deltas coming from selling calls, right? On balance, 6.8 million. Negative deltas from calls, tell me more selling calls than buying. Net delta puts, net long, which means more selling puts than buying. So right here, even though I'm getting a net short, almost 2 million deltas, on balance, it's mostly coming from just selling options, just more call selling than more put selling, right? That's what, so that's kind of right away, I'm getting more insight into what's going on. So we're right up at 9:30. I try to cover this entire report. I think we did.
Hit a lot, D. We did have a new chameleon on today who was asking a question, Mike Poma, and we can remember this for tomorrow, maybe hit it tomorrow. He was asked, can you explain the deltas by strike percentage away from spot area? Do you know what he's talking about? All right, so maybe tomorrow we'll hit that. Mike, come back tomorrow. Everyone will start with the deltas by strike percent away feature. D can look at that. Dima, great job, buddy.
All right, thanks everyone for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a good trading day, and I hope to see you guys tomorrow.
All right. Trade in peace, chameleons. Have a great day, D.